All right, think about this, right? Gravity. This is just a piece of plastic, okay? Gravity is not pulling this down. It's literally it's bending down a little bit due to its weight. The weight of it is pulling it down. Just the weight. If it was gravity, it would be a force being pulled on it. There's no force being pulled on that. Look at it. There's like little tiny bits of like wind moving back and forth. There's no gravity pulling on this. It's just it's being held up by the strength of it, which isn't much, and that little bit of strength is holding it up to not bend down. If it was gravity, literally gravity would just pull it down, even if it's slowly. But I thought gravity works at the same velocity at all times, you know? There's nothing pulling on that, just the weight of it, just the weight alone. Just the weight of it alone is pulling on it. If I do it from here, from the middle, it just stays straight. There's no force pulling on that. No force. Gravity doesn't exist. That's why helium floats. Because it's lighter than air. Nothing is pulling this down. If there's gravity, why is my hair just sitting here? Why isn't gravity pulling my hair down? You know what I mean? I could just have a nice little curl right here. There's no force pulling this down to the ground. The strength of my hair can pull it back up, resisting gravity. But gravity's holding oceans to the floor. Right. Tell me more about how you just make up words to justify people sticking to the outside of a spinning ball. And that's why they teach you in elementary school. Because that's when you literally, when you first learn about it, you're like, you know, the spinning ball, you're like, I mean, that doesn't even make sense. The Big Bang didn't make sense to me. None of it made sense, but they were teaching it to me, so I'm like, oh, it must be true. And then I lived 25 years thinking that it was all true, being afraid that at one point gravity's gonna give way and I'm just gonna start floating in the sky. And I'm literally looking around like, what would I grab on if we lost our force of gravity? And everything just started floating up. You know, like that's just crazy. And now that I understand, it's just density. The density of the object, it falls, the weight of itself is what pulls it down. It's more dense than the air. That's why there's levels of air and it's less dense as you go up. And the air, oxygen is more dense at sea level. Like, come on now. And how does smoke float up in the air? You know what I mean? It's lighter than the air. That's why it floats up, and it floats up until it finds equilibrium. Once it finds everything is seeking equilibrium. Once it finds equilibrium, it stays. That's why the clouds just sit where they sit, because that's where they found equilibrium, you know? And when it's too much and too much water moisture is built up in the clouds, they get heavier and eventually it starts to rain. And the raindrops fall from the clouds that accumulated the water until the point where it was too dense to maintain that altitude. So the rain started to fall, you know? And that's why water, when you put it in a puddle, it absorbs up. The sun will literally dry a puddle and there'll be no puddle left because it comes up, because the heat from the sun literally turns it into vapor, water vapor, basically, and then it rises up because it's lighter than the air. It's an ecosystem. You know, we're in a huge terrarium. Everything works hand in hand. This isn't some cosmic accident, Big Bang, a big bang explosion, everything's flying millions of miles an hour, and and life is so perfect. You know what I mean? Like, why would, and we have magnetism, and we have a compass that points north on this big cosmic accident, and a sun in the sky, and a moon in the sky, and the sun and the stars in the sky, and the planets in the sky, and the planets are just wandering stars. You know, everything's right up in our sky, right in our arc of horizon. So at the end of the day, how can you have a big bang explosion that creates a sun, a moon, and stars, where the stars travel around and tell you annually, I mean, they travel around daily, and in one full year is basically what it takes for them to reset and get to the back to the point where they started in alignment with the sun. You know what I mean? Where you see the same stars at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. on a certain day. 1 year later, you'll see the same stars in the sky above your head on that same exact day at that same exact time. 1 year later, because it's a system. It works. This isn't an accident. That doesn't even make sense. Then the sun goes around every day, or the apparent sun, you know, the sun projection. The moon projection goes around, and the sun and the moon travel the same path, but the moon does it in 1 month, traveling from tropic to tropic, and the sun takes 1 year to travel tropic to tropic, but it's the Fibonacci spiral. You know what I mean? So how in some big bang cosmic accident, they literally taught us something that's so ridiculously stupid that they have to teach you in elementary school when you don't know any better to question it. And then you go the rest of your life believing it. And then they also taught you that people were so dumb that they thought the earth was flat. So you're not even thinking about if the earth's flat. You're looking around thinking you live on a ball your whole life because that's what you were taught. They're programming us and giving us a false reality. So this is for entertainment purposes only. All the opinions in this video are my opinion alone and do not represent or reflect the opinions of anyone besides myself. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed my little presentation. Take care. Peace. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell a friend. Come back for more.